comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Out of the box, thrown in front and tapped home. Connor McDavid has hit 50. Barron, 5, Hughes, backhand, he's out.
Welcome to another episode of the Dump and Change Show, an NHL betting show hosted by myself, Jonny Lazarus, and my good friend, Keith Kavanaugh. We got a great episode today previewing the weekend matchups for the NHL, and we also have an unbelievable interview with Ariel Helwani, the lead MMA journalist and the most popular one at that. But before we go any further, I do want to say that Dawson Mercer is dead to me for anyone that listened to episode 1, but I also want to introduce my friend over there, Keith Kavanaugh. Keith, what's going on, man?
Well, before you go after Dawson, I think you picked the wrong game to bet on him because he easily would have covered that last night. He had 3 shots on goal, including a shot on his first shift. And you being at the game, too, I remember second intermission, I finally got to meet you. First thing you say to me is, Dawson Mercer has no shots on goal. Meanwhile, you're sitting up in the nosebleeds. You're trying to mooch yourself into the free lounge area. So it was tough look for you, tough night all around. But yeah, super excited for episode 2 and Ariel Helwani. And before we kind of dive in more, just want to thank everyone for listening to episode 1. Received a lot of good feedback. Appreciate everyone supporting us. I think this is kind of what me and Jonny are really passionate about, and I think we're on the right trajectory. So just keep the feedback coming. Keep sending us picks. Keep giving us constructive criticism. I think we just want to keep growing as this kind of builds up.
I should add to that, we are 5-0 right now on our best bets that we're giving out daily. So Keith and I, from our Twitter account, we're going to post on the Instagram story also. We're giving out one best bet from each of us a day, and right now they're 5-0. Obviously, you're wondering why it's an odd number if there's 2 of us. I think the first night, Keith had
shout out Brian Rust for that one.
And he had a baby, so that's a good excuse. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was also so fitting that like I pounced the Dawson Mercer over 2.5 shots on goal, and he doesn't have one fucking shot. Just typical stuff. But I think we should talk about our bets last night. Your best bet was what again?
Jack Hughes over 3.5 shots on goal.
Yes.
Never in doubt for my buddy Jack. Actually, he was on 3 for a very long time until about the 7-minute mark of the third period, and then he hit 4 and 5 super quick. And those also kind of helped out your best bet with Darcy Kemper over saves. So great win for the Devils last night. Timo Meier in the 4th round of the shootout with a nice little oppo side top shelf finisher. And I think it was good for us to kind of win both those bets last night.
Yeah, and I think you'll find that we have a trend with our best bets. Keith loves the shots on goal trend, and I'm more of a goalie over saves. That's just like something that we find to be very advantageous in the betting world. And we'll kind of explain that as we go further. But do you want to go into what we're looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, but first I kind of wanted to thank our guy, Chris, in our replies at MC_silly3. He's been giving us winners as well. The last 2 days he sent us his best bets. We got Nino Niederreiter on Wednesday over 2.5 shots. And then last night he said Wyatt Johnson over 0.5 point. And he had a point on the very first goal of the game. He had the first goal of the game, rather. So we love that. And then, yeah, before we go into the weekend, I kind of wanted to snap it around the National for last night's games. There's one game in particular. We previewed it, the Bruins and the Oilers. And I got a bone to pick with Mr. 97, Connor McDavid. My biggest bet of the night, or my bet that I was most excited about, was David Pastrnak, Connor McDavid, both to score a goal. Pasta easily got that in the second period. And then Connor McDavid was getting shut down all game. The announcers were showing he had 1 shot on goal the entire game. But then we get a glorious moment, 1:30 seconds left. There's an empty net. Connor McDavid is on the ice for basically the entire time that the net is empty. And then about 25 seconds left in the game. You got to B-roll this, Jonny, because it's pissed me off so much. He's coming down the side. All he has is him and Patrice Bergeron between the net, about 10 feet between them. Connor could probably shoot it there. I trust his accuracy in that position, but he takes Bergeron one-on-one, tries to go around him. Patrice Bergeron one-on-one, tries to dangle him, and usually Connor's pretty good at dangling, but Patrice had a nice stick poke there and got the puck loose, and Connor didn't end up scoring. So pretty brutal loss there, but that game was awesome in general. I think, like you mentioned, big measuring stick game for the Oilers.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch any of it. I had a men's league game myself, had 3 assists, 1 back check, didn't get chirped. So good night for me also. But yeah, I mean, last night, the hockey slate, it's a shame too, because one of the better hockey slates I think we've had all year as far as those games. I mean, the Stars beat the Sabres 10-4, Rangers shootout win, Devils shootout win, Islanders comeback win, excuse me. Just a great night of hockey. The Senators, another, they blew a 3-0 lead and ended up winning. They found a way in the end there. So a lot of the teams that had to win last night for standings implications won. So just a great night of hockey, but we got another fun weekend of hockey. Friday night, a little bit lighter, but Saturday is a great slate. Sunday is a pretty good slate as well. And let's just dive into it unless you have anything else that you want to touch on before.
No, I just was going to say, if you took the under in the Stars Sabres game, I need to see those tickets so we can absolutely roast you, because that one was not even close. 14
Overhit
goals
twice.
combined. 2 touchdowns. I mean, come on. That was just Stars really looked good last night. But yeah, I mean, tonight's game, like you mentioned, pretty weak slate. We only have 2 games. We have the Blackhawks versus the Panthers and the Ducks versus the Flames. If you're looking for a good close game, you're not going to find it tonight. The money lines are plus 365 for the Blackhawks, minus 490 for the Panthers in that first game. Second game, you're getting plus 290 for the Ducks and minus 375 for the Flames. However, for my shots on goal perspective, this is a great game for that, because you're getting 3 of the 4 teams who give up top 10 most shots on goal against, including the Ducks, who give up a staggering amount of shots on goal, 39 per game, where the second most team is only at 35. So I think you're going to see a lot of shots at least. So at least that is something you can be excited about.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go into your underdog for the weekend. And just so everyone's clear, this is how our show works. We do an underdog pick, a prop bet, a storyline pick, and then our best bet. So we're giving you 4 different bets, 4 different kinds of bets every time we do a show, and we're going to post the clips and everything throughout the week just to keep you all updated on the day-to-day basis. But Keith, give me your underdog pick for the weekend.
The underdog pick I have is a game for Saturday, and it's the Winnipeg Jets on the money line, plus 112 on the Barstool Sportsbook. Winnipeg played a close game against Minnesota on Wednesday, 3-2 loss as one of Johnny's best bets of the night, so a good winner for him. But the reason I like this for a couple reasons. They need these points. They're only 4 points in the clear on the second wildcard spot to Calgary. Winnipeg is 2-6-2 in their last 10, but they will have 2 days rest here, whereas Florida plays tonight. So I think that the rest advantage is definitely advantageous for Winnipeg. And then also the special teams will be the difference in this game. Winnipeg has a top 5 penalty kill. Florida has a bottom 5 penalty kill. So I think if Winnipeg's able to get a couple power plays here, they can put a couple in the back of the net and take this home to victory. It also is Paul Maurice's revenge game, if you will. But I think sometimes those get overlooked and you think too much into those. So for that reason, I'm on Winnipeg. I think the players have more of a point to prove than the coach does. So I think they're going to really try hard to win this game.
The only thing that concerns me with that game is the goal scoring. I feel like both teams haven't been able to put the puck in the back of the net as of late. I know Winnipeg had that pretty high scoring game against Edmonton last week, but other than that, they've been struggling offensively. But on the back-to-back against Florida, a team that's been very inconsistent this year as well, I do like the Jets, and like you said, they need the points. I do think this is actually a really good pick. I'm not going to shun you for this one. This is a good underdog pick. And, obviously these are the ones that are less likely to hit. So I think we both actually lost our underdogs on the last episode, but that's, pretty common. These are just good value.
I'm very thankful that you're not shunning me, Johnny.
Yeah. I'll go into mine, and mine is on Saturday as well. And my underdog pick for Saturday is a pretty good game. It's the Edmonton Oilers in Toronto against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where Connor McDavid always seems to show up and do something spectacular. The Oilers and Leafs have definitely had some good back and forth games in recent history. Edmonton hasn't had the best of luck in Toronto as of late. I believe they're 3-10 in their last 13 meetings in Toronto, but this time around it is different. The Oilers are absolutely buzzing right now. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. They're 20-10-3 on the road this year, and all the points matter right now for Edmonton. Toronto's playoff spot is a little intact right now. It seems like they're playing Tampa Bay in the first round, where Edmonton is only 4 points back of the division lead for first place. They're trying to catch the Vegas Golden Knights. So all these points matter. The Leafs are also missing Tavares and O'Reilly right now. They might be back for the game, but I don't think they will be, as well as Luke Shen on the back end. So it's a weaker Toronto team. They did have a good win, though, in New Jersey there tonight, which we were both there for. But Edmonton is buzzing off that win against Boston on Thursday night, and I think this is a great spot for them as an underdog, especially with how good McDavid and Draisaitl have been playing as of late.
I fucking hate this pick, if we're going to be totally honest.
Yeah. I mean, Toronto's fucking good. So it's an underdog pick for a reason, right? Like, just anytime you get the Oilers at plus odds, it's tough to pass up.
Yeah, I just think my whole thought process here is that they had such a good win last night that this feels like a perfect letdown spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and that's a common trend. And, that's why I didn't want to make this one of my better bets. This is the underdog pick. I think if there is a team that can surprise, it's Edmonton. Just they're so talented offensively, number one offense in the league, number one power play in the league. So I think it's a good spot for them to keep the momentum going.
And if you think about it too, I think what really drew my attention to their win yesterday, Boston after 2 periods this season was 35-0-2. So Edmonton gave them their first regulation loss after leading by 2. They got all their depth scoring yesterday, so they had no McDavid, no Draisaitl. Their goals were by Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, and Ryan McLeod. So they really are kind of picking it up from the bottom 6 in their deep pair scoring, and the top unit isn't necessarily needing to lead them in these big games.
Tough to keep McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet in back-to-back games, huh?
Almost impossible.
So, all right, I love that one. Let's go into our prop bets for the weekend. Keith, what's yours?
My prop bet of the weekend is a game actually tonight. So we got Matthew Tkachuk over 1.5 points plus 100 on PointsBet. There's a couple reasons why I like this one. Matthew Tkachuk is kind of a different player at home than he is on the road. So he scores 1.5 points in 58.6% of games, which comes out to about minus 142 equivalent odds. So you're already getting some value there. He also averages 1.52 points per game at home. And then you're also facing a team in the Blackhawks who give up a ton of goals, give up a ton of shots. This feels like a great spot for Tkachuk. Also, his line that he plays on with Verhaeghe and Bennett, they control a lot of play. They average 61.2 expected goal share, and they have by far the most amount of minutes played of any three-man pair line for the Panthers. So I think from that perspective, this line just has a lot of chemistry. They're going to dominate play tonight. Tkachuk's going to get on the scoreboard early, and he's going to get at least 2 points.
I actually love this pick from you. Great play and great breakdown. Tkachuk obviously has been he's been carrying the Panthers offensively all year long, and to your point, Panthers do a great job getting shots on goal. So yeah, I'm going to ride this one with you for sure. Panthers getting 36.8 shots on net. I mean, can't ask for much more, and Tkachuk is definitely a key contributor to that. So I do love this pick, Keith. I'm going to ride this one.
He's been by far their best player this season too. There's kind of been no one else that has really taken that next step. You look at Barkov's been injured a lot. Duclair's just on his coming back. I don't even think he's playing tonight because he's sick. Ekblad's taken a step back. They obviously lost Huberdeau and Weegar in the trade for Tkachuk. So I think he's by far been their focal point of the offense this year.
Mm-hmm. And I'm actually sticking with a similar vibe. My prop bet tonight is on one of Tkachuk's former teammates, and that's Elias Lindholm to hit over 2.5 shots on goal. This is plus 104 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Lindholm has 3 shots on goal in each of his last 2 games. The Calgary Flames are right behind the Panthers as far as shots on goal per game, averaging 35.4 each night. And they're going up against the Anaheim Ducks, who are the worst team at preventing shots against. They allow 39.2 shots on goal against each night. So I think this is a great spot for Lindholm to be able to find another 3 shots on goal. He'll probably score one too, if I had to guess. But the Flames are trying to catch Winnipeg in the standings, a team that we just talked about before. They're outside of the playoffs right now, trying to get in. They're a really good team that's been underperforming all year, but Elias Lindholm has been one of the key guys that has helped contribute offensively. So I think Lindholm is definitely due for another 3 to 4, even 5 shots on goal against a very weak Anaheim blue line. And the goaltending doesn't necessarily matter in this as long as he's getting shots on goal. So I love Lindholm to get over 2.5 shots on goal at plus odds.
The thing I will say about this pick, and I'll go into it a little more on my best bet preview alert, but essentially, I think the Lindholm odds and the juice here is it's been a little juiced for the opponent, which makes sense because Lindholm, for example, only has a 35% hit rate on over 2.5 shots on goal for the entire season, which comes out to about plus 186 odds. But then you obviously have to factor in the opponent. You have to factor in how he's been playing lately. So I think the fair odds for this would probably be about plus 120, plus 125. But I still think he might hit it. I just don't think that necessarily the value's there.
Mm-hmm. Let's go into our storyline bets. Keith, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So I have a Tyler Bertuzzi goal in Saturday against Detroit. The odds aren't out yet. I'm assuming based on his past performance and how the odds have been being made for him that the traders will give it about plus 275 to plus 300, somewhere in that range to score a goal. He's playing against his old team. I think that there's some definite animosity in how the contract situation played out. And from Detroit's perspective, I don't blame them. He's injured. He had one breakout season. It's hard to kind of give that kind of player a longer-term contract. The way he plays, his physical bruising style doesn't necessarily last as long as other players in the league. So I think it was good for both sides to move on, but that doesn't mean that Bertuzzi isn't going to be trying to do everything he can to score a goal. He's just 1 season removed from having 30 goals and 32 assists. And also he's on that second power play unit with Krejci, with Pavel Zacha, with Lindholm, with McAvoy. So if Detroit gets a couple penalties early on, Bertuzzi gets on that second power play unit, look for him to score a goal against his old team. If you're in Massachusetts, a lot of the sports books just launched there today. You can go to the game. You can take this bet. You can root for Tyler Bertuzzi to score a goal against his old team, and you can make some good money off of it.
I like this pick as well. I think it's always fun to bet against or bet on a player playing against his former team. Those always seem to be, this could have been, a good prop as well. I mean, the odds are amazing, and you actually did pick it perfectly for the storyline bet just because everything lines up. I don't know if I'll ride this one, but I do like it.
So you're going to like it. You're going to pump the tires of the bet, and then you're not actually going to take it. Is that how?
Maybe like a $10 like half unit bet on this one. Something like
That's
that.
fair. That's all I asked for. A little sprinkle.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
My unit, just to be clear too, we should say our unit. My unit's $100 typically. So this would be a 0.01 unit bet. But
mine's 50, so I guess I'm poorer than Jonny, although he was in the poor seats at the Devils game and I was on the lower level. So just so everyone knows.
That's true. And I actually, speaking of that, I'm going to the Devils game again on Sunday, and that is my storyline bet. The Devils against the Carolina Hurricanes.
What a segue, by the way.
Thank you very much. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm very excited for this game. Huge standings implications between these two teams as they're both battling it out right now for the Metropolitan Division. The Devils and Canes are both going to be playing a back-to-back in this one, so they might have a little bit of tired legs. I think they're both playing 3 and 4 nights as well. So we should see a little bit of fatigue. They're two of the top 10 defensive teams in the NHL, Carolina being second, only allowing 2.48 goals against per game. The Devils in seventh, allowing 2.70 goals against per game. They also have really strong penalty kills. Carolina, once again, second in that department at an 83.7%. The Devils a little bit further down in 10th at 81.7%. So these are really strong offensive teams as well, but the defense, I think, outweighs a little bit of the offense in a matchup like this. And with the importance of this game, I think they will be playing a little bit tighter defensively. So we should see like a 3-2, 2-1, that kind of battle. And there is no line right now, but I would think it's going to be at 6 or that 5.5. I would lean toward the 6 because that's kind of how the over-unders have been this year for the most part, but I won't be surprised if it's 5.5. Either way, I think not a rivalry game, but a very important divisional rivalry, you can say. And, I think it'll be a fun, low-scoring contest.
As a Devils fan, I'm so excited for this game. I think this is a massive game for both teams, but this is the last time that they play each other. There's only a 4-point gap in the standings right now. Carolina does have one game in hand. To go off of your under, though, I'm interested to see who gets the net for both of these teams. So Schmid played last night against Washington, and then New Jersey plays against Montreal on Saturday, and then Carolina on Sunday. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to Schmid again tomorrow, and then have Vitek play on Sunday. He's been a little shaky lately, but he's obviously been their number one goalie this year. So I think that's what the Devils' plan is. The Hurricanes a little different. So they had PK play last night, his first game in 2 months. He got a shutout. Piotr
PK. They had PK Subban in that last night.
So he got a shutout last night. It's crazy to me. He's tied for second in shutouts this season, and he's only played 20 games. Mm-hmm. He's by far Carolina's best goalie, but because of the salary cap, they're not able to keep him on the main roster. They used an emergency recall yesterday when Ronta went down to get him to play this game. So it's interesting to see if they're going to be able, if Ronta will still be hurt, obviously he won't play, but then between him or Freddie, who's going to get the net for that game, I think will be interesting. And then I'm interested to see on Jack Hughes' shots on goal prop. Carolina is by far the best team on suppressing shots this season. So I'm interested to see if Jack's number's at 3.5. And then if he is at 3.5, if we can teeter around the plus money, if we get plus 100, 3.5, I'm taking that all game. And I also think the bookmakers were confused to price him at first when he was put on the line with Timo Meier, because they thought Timo was going to get a lot of the shots and maybe Jack was going to defer, which he has done. Timo's been crushing it with the shots, but Jack's also been getting his. So I'm interested to see how that kind of plays out too.
Well, speaking of shots, let's go into our best bets because they both have to do with shots on goal. That's a great point, Keith, and that's a game that I'll be at, so I'll be very excited to watch that. Also, I'll ride any pick you take for that game, just so I can have a rooting interest in that game because obviously I want both teams to lose. But speaking of shots, let's go into our best bets for the weekend. I think your best bet is in tonight's game. Mine is as well. So why don't you kick it off here with tonight's best bets, which are undefeated at 5-0. We're trying to get to 7-0 tonight.
No pressure. But my best bet for the night is Mikael Backlund, over 3.5 shots on goal, plus 112 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. My best bet of the night is Mikael Backlund, over 3.5 shots on goal, plus 112 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. As we mentioned earlier, the Anaheim Ducks give up 39 shots against per game, by far the most of any team. Backlund has hit this number in 10 of his last 11 games. Usually you get his number at 2.5, where it's about between minus 155, minus 160. He's been clearing that with ease. However, I really like this number because of the opponent he's playing, because of how hot he's been. And I just think that this is a great spot for Backlund. And I don't think his line is actually juiced as much as some of his teammates, as I mentioned earlier with the Lindholm line. But even if you look at guys on the third line like Blake Coleman, Andrew Mangiapane, their numbers are between 10 and 30 cents higher than they normally are. Whereas Backlund, if he was given 3.5 on a normal game, I would guess it would be about this number anyway. So I think the value's there, and he really generates a lot of shots.
I love this bet, Keith, and I'm actually sticking to the same game because I do think Calgary is going to absolutely pepper the Ducks with shots on goal tonight. It could be a 50 burger, who knows? But I'm going with John Gibson over saves. They haven't announced a line yet as we're recording. They haven't announced if Gibson is confirmed starting it tonight, but if they go with Dostal, I still like the over on saves, and I might take the alternate line. So I'm going to post a tweet with the actual number later on in this day. But either way, I think the Flames are putting up at least 50 shots or 45 plus shots on goal tonight. I think this line will be at about 33, 34 and a half maybe for the over on saves. And I think the Flames will definitely, like I said before, get their fair amount of shots. But if it is John Gibson starting in goal, he's been incredible in his last 5 games. He's got a 2.75 goals against average in that span and a .927 save percentage as well. So he's been playing pretty well, on an Anaheim Ducks team that is not very strong defensively. So Calgary will have their fair share of opportunities. And I love the over on this play. And I've been taking the over on goalie saves the last couple nights. I took an Ilya Sorokin one last night as well as my Darcy Kemper best bet, and they've been money. So I'm sticking with that theme, and I'm going with the John Gibson over on saves. Hopefully he is the starter, which I do think he will.
I wish they kind of traded him at the deadline. I'd really love to see what Gibson would look like on a contender. I think it's a travesty that he has to be buried in Anaheim. So hopefully they're able to move him in the offseason. The only risk with taking these over saves on the Anaheim Ducks is if they're getting peppered and they're losing 3-4-0 in the first period, they might pull that goalie and then your bet's completely toast. So that's the only risk you take. I don't think there's ever going to be a concern with them not getting the shot number because that defense is Swiss cheese. They just get shots against nonstop. There's no offensive back check. The defense just gets shredded. It's an absolute joke. And I think that this is a good bet in theory. So hopefully it plays out for you. I mean, I think a lot of people have been hammering over saves on the Anaheim Ducks goalies, and it's been a good bet so far this year.
I think that wraps up the best bets and all our bets that we have going into this weekend. We do have a really fun interview with Ariel Helwani right now. We're going to talk to him about his hockey fandom and just, everything he's got going on. He's one of the coolest guys in sports media, and I think you will all love him. So stay tuned for that right now. Let's send it over to Ariel Helwani. We are very honored to bring on the first ever guest on the Dump and Change show, someone that I admire very much in the media world, the lead MMA reporter, and someone you should all be very familiar with if you love the UFC. It's so nice to see you face to face virtually once again. Welcome to the show, Ariel Helwani. Ariel.
Hello. How are you guys?
We are really fucking good. Me especially, because the Rangers beat your Montreal Canadiens last night in Montreal. Patrick Kane had his first goal, and they're taking on Keith's Devils tomorrow. So both of us have a little bit to do with the Canadiens. Can you talk about the overall vibe right now in Montreal with the Canadiens after being in the final 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And your intake on hockey.
Well, I mean, that run a couple of years ago was tremendous. It was totally out of nowhere. Such a bummer, by the way, that, the fans couldn't be there. I know they said, I think for the Stanley Cup final, they said it was like 2,500. Didn't seem like 2,500 if I'm being honest, but, you go to Tampa and it's a full arena, and you come to Montreal and it's, 4,000 or whatever it was.
And they had 20,000 outside.
20,000, yeah, all like cramped together. It was a very bizarre time. I mean, also bizarre that they were playing the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup final and played Vegas in the conference final. The whole thing was freaking weird. And of course, a lot of changes since then. No Carey Price, Shea Weber, et cetera. But I feel good about the future. I actually went to the Devils game a couple of weeks ago, and that was a big time win for them. They looked pretty damn good in that game as well. So they've got a bit of a youth movement. I guess foolishly at the start of the season, I thought maybe they could squeak in. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But as long as there's something that they're building towards, and I think the front office is solid. I like Martin St. Louis, legend. So I feel like there's optimism. It is weird, to see the Leafs and stuff so much better than us these days. But, we all know they're not going to win anyway. So it doesn't matter.
I will say too, the Canadiens are right now the 6th worst record, but that means they have a
Cool.
7.5% chance to get the first overall pick. This is an absolutely loaded draft class. So if they're able to secure the top 3 picks and get either Connor Bedard, Leo Carlson, or Adam Fantilli, that's going to be just another youth piece kind of helping with their movement.
I was just gonna say, historically, it's tough to get the first pick back to back. It's happened obviously in the NBA with the Orlando Magic. Did the Devils get it back to back? Or
They were 2017 and 2019, so there was
Got
a
it.
year in between when the
Right.
Sabres
But the
won
Rangers
it.
got 2 and then 1. So that
Okay.
was like a
All right. Well,
good back
let's
to
hope
back.
for the best.
I did want to ask you too, just about sports betting in general. So obviously, with your show being sponsored by DraftKings, but then you doing a lot of stuff with BetMGM, kind of how do you see the sports betting landscape kind of helping out like your career path and everything from that perspective?
Oh, it's massive. Like when I left ESPN and I was in my independent Helwani phase, if you will, and I was trying to see who I wanted to work with. I mean, very clear that the sports betting world was, the engine for a lot of the media outlets right now, like fueling a lot of our work. Like you have to be aligned. Openly, I have often said that I don't really understand betting. I'm not very smart when it comes to it. I'm always referencing it. This guy's the favorite, that guy's the favorite, but there's a whole science. I think I've been lucky enough and smart enough to surround myself with people who know it. Shout out to New York Rick, my longtime partner in crime. Shout out to Connor Burks, who's done a phenomenal job since joining the MMA Hour, and his picks are amazing. And I love learning from him about the game. And it's just amazing. Like this guy, I've never met someone who is so passionate about betting. Like I will talk to him about darts, and all of a sudden he's giving me like a whole breakdown of who's the favorite and making picks. I talk to him about, random stuff that he's not even a fan of. And he's like, all right, I'm in. I'm going to lay some, lumber on this, that, and the other. So I enjoy that. Anyone who has a passion about anything, I really, really enjoy. And if you're not aligned with one of the companies out there, and I'm Switzerland. I want to play nice with everyone. So I got love for everyone. But yes, of course, BetMGM near and dear to my heart. And I love those guys, and they've been very, very good to me. I think that, you're making a mistake if you're not aligning. And luckily for me, I don't have to make picks in large part because I don't know if you guys know this, but fighters are very, very sensitive. And if you pick against them, they don't want to talk to you anymore. And I'm in the business of talking to them. And so everyone's okay with me not making picks. And I'm very happy about that.
So you just let Connor make the picks for you, and
That's
then you
exactly
let him take you let him take all the shit.
Yes, but he doesn't have to reach out to these guys for an interview. So it's perfect. I'm the one who does the booking. So no one really gets mad at me. I sometimes go out on a limb when it's someone that I have like a long history with, and perfect scenario, someone I have a long history with fighting someone who doesn't like me and won't come on the show anyway. Then I'm all about the pick. Then I'll just I have nothing to lose.
Well, I gotta ask, what's a higher number, your bench press or your betting unit?
That's a great question, because I don't know if you know this, guys. I'm trying to get, it's so big it doesn't even get into the shot. Like there's been gains going on here with a Z. I mean, I've been doing a lot. So I don't really know what betting unit means, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna go with bench press just to be safe.
Good to say on the betting show.
Okay.
But I want to ask you, because we've talked about this, you and I, before, about fighting in hockey. You're in the work of fighting, and obviously fighting is a huge part of the athletes that you talk to, their lives. It's also a huge part of NHL's players' lives, but a lot of people want to see it removed from the game. Do you think there are more pros than cons for fighting in hockey, or are you in the crowd of, maybe we don't need it, the game's got a lot of skill and speed, fighting can go away?
Nah, it's got to stay. It's a throwback. Now, do we need to see it every game, every period? No, but it's a unique element of the NHL, of hockey, that you don't get in any other sport, right? I mean, if someone like flicks a player in the NBA, you're suspended for a game, you're kicked out. If you get if you hold on to this part of a jersey in the NFL, it's 15 yards or something like that. I like the fact that sometimes, the best is when the guys are about to fight and the refs are just, hanging around them and like, all right, guys, get it out of your damn system. Like that's just a part of the fabric of the NHL. So am I advocating for extreme violence? Do I want to see gruesome injuries, knockouts, concussions? No, But I mean, I used to be a partial season ticket holder for the Montreal Canadiens for many, many years while I was growing up in Montreal. My family had, and we went to so many games. I was at the last game ever at the Montreal Forum. I was at the first game ever at the Molson Center. Obviously, growing up in Montreal, hockey is a big part of our lives. And some of the most fun times that I had was when you knew a fight was about to break out and watching that fight. So I don't want to see it go away. Obviously, you have to be smart, but I'm a fan.
There's also a lot of crossover with the NHL players training in MMA and martial arts as well, right? So there's, a cool aspect to that where, not only are these guys fighting, they're also fighting to the similar style that you cover. So I'm sure you can, it'd be cool to see, maybe like probably really dangerous, but an MMA fight on skates or something like that. I don't know if that's ever
there's a company called Fight TV. They do great work. They're basically like an online network stream, and they have combat sports events all the time from all over the world, mainly MMA, boxing, pro wrestling. But there's a league, and I'm going to botch this, but I think it's called Ice Wars or something like that. There's a league that started where it's just the fights, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also, yeah. I think that was that started with the Dansbury, like Thrashers guy. I think he's the one that started it.
Yeah.
But back to your point too, I think there's definitely like a happy medium in hockey where you can keep fights in the game, but only fights that are like necessary and warranted. So if there's a dirty hit, standing up for your player, as opposed to some people just come in and try and fight someone after a clean hit. I don't think that necessarily warrants a fight. But
1000%.
But now that we're let's loop it back a little bit. So we're a hockey betting show. Ariel Helwani, what kind of bets are you looking at for this weekend? There's a massive slate of games on both Saturday and Sunday. Any picks in particular?
Well, Keith Kavanaugh, funny you should ask. I mean, I just mentioned Habs Devils a couple weeks ago. We get the rematch at home at the Bell Center. So, of course, I mean, I'm a total homer. I do, by the way, I have love for the Rangers, even though you guys beat us yesterday. I would love to see the Rangers. I'm a huge Knicks fan. Maybe not a ton of love for the ownership, but I'm a fan of the Garden, obviously, and I know a lot of Rangers fans, and I would love, anytime New York is happy, I'm happy. So I will say that I'm happy about the Kane trade and how they're doing, but I'm actually very, very happy for the Devils. My cousin works for the Devils.
Wow.
Amanda Stein is her name. She does a lot of reporting. You guys know Amanda. Yeah. I never told you this?
No.
Oh yeah, that's my wife's cousin, and so now through marriage, Amanda.
She's Canadian, so
best handwriting in the NHL.
Best handwriting.
Insane
when she
does
the lineup
lines every day.
Yes, she is great, and I have so much respect for her because she's a woman working in a male-dominated sport. She came from TSN, I think it's 690 in Montreal, covering the Canadiens. Took a chance, moved to America, has been working for the Devils. And based on what she tells me and based on what I see, there aren't a lot of people covering the Devils on a day-to-day basis. And she's one of the very few. I know she works for the team, but has done a lot of great work and is respected, I believe, by the fan base. And so I'm very, very proud of her. And when we were at the game, she brought my kids down to give some of the players high fives. We saw Jack Hughes and company, and that was pretty damn cool. So I'm rooting for the Devils. I'm rooting for the Rangers, but number one, always the Habs. And we get a rematch. And anytime the Devils play the Canadiens, she knows this. I have to root for the Canadiens. And so I'm going with the Canadiens at home tomorrow.
Like it. As a big Devils fan too, like obviously see Amanda's stuff on Twitter. She is definitely respected in the Devils space. Everyone loves when she posts the lines. The handwriting is second to none. She's getting good with the content too in the interviews, just trying to bring fans like a good perspective of the team. There's not a lot of that going on in hockey, whereas the UFC, I feel like you can kind of get more like alone one-on-one time with the fighters. It's not like that in the NHL, but I think she's doing a good job trying to bridge that gap.
Glad to hear it. I love that.
So, Ariel, before we let you go, we just asked you about your weekend bets, but Stanley Cup winner, not necessarily who you think is going to win. Who do you want to see win the Stanley Cup? Aside, in a realistic realm.
Yeah, I mean, Montreal is not going to win. Yeah. I would love to see the Devils or the Rangers, and I know that's a weird one because they're rivals. But you
want a Rangers parade before a Knicks parade?
I mean, we got one in '94. I mean, the last Knicks parade we got was '73. I wasn't born. I would be last year. I was rooting for them. I would have loved to see them make the final. That would have been amazing. So yeah, Devils or Rangers would be great. I love going to games at the Prudential Center. By the way, it's a great time. It's a lot easier to park around there. The fan base, I love those like passionate sort of niche diehard fan bases. And of course, since the Nets left, there's not. I mean, I know the Jets and Giants play in New Jersey as well, but there's no New Jersey pro sports team here anymore. So I would love to see them get a victory, but I think the Rangers fans are great as well. That's a fun time. So if I had to pick, I'm going Rangers or Devils. If I had to pick one, I'll go with the Devils for Amanda, because I think it would be pretty damn cool for her to be covering a Stanley Cup winning team.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to get invited to that cup party if it happens.
Yeah, I think I could pull some strings. I think I can make it. I don't think we want you there as a
No,
Rangers
I'm a
guy.
friend of the Devil community.
I agree with that.
Really? Okay.
Islander fans want
I'll
to kill me.
take Johnny's invite. Don't worry.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Islander fans want to kill me, but Devil fans seem to have a little.
You're
bit
cool
of
with them? All right.
Yeah.
Good.
The good news too, Ariel, is that the Devils look like they're going to play the Rangers in the first round. So whoever wins that series can kind of be the team that you
the
for the
pick.
rest of the way.
Oh my God, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Shades of 94. Tremendous. Love
It
that.
should be awesome. But Ariel, before we let you go, we want to thank you for your time and anything you want to plug before you hop off here.
Nothing. I want to plug your dentist. Last time we spoke, you were missing a tooth. So shout out to him. Or 2 teeth. Was it 2 or 1?
4.
It was 4. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So yes, I want to shout him out or her out.
Dr. Stern.
Respect. Is that a boy or a girl?
A boy. Andrew Stern.
Okay. Legend. Great stuff. And yeah, congrats on the show. Thanks for having me. Like I said to you off air, we need young, exuberant, vibrant voices in hockey. And Johnny, I love in particular what you're doing. It gives me great nachas, as we like to say in the Jewish community, to see you doing the play-by-play stuff for ESPN Plus. Seeing you do the stuff with SNY and On the Ice with BR, with Julie Stewart-Binks. That's great as well. I love all the stuff that you're doing. So keep it up and keep making hockey fun. There's a lot of old guard in hockey that it's just sort of like, it's a little dry, right? Make it fun, make it exciting. Keep it up.
Thank you. And I'm taking that clip and putting it on my Hinge profile so girls think I'm doing really good.
Awesome. My pleasure.
Thanks, Ariel. Talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
We want to thank Ariel once again for coming on the show. Such an awesome guy and a huge advocate for the game of hockey. If you don't know the MMA or UFC, go check him out because he does incredible work with all the fighters. But before we do end the episode, Keith and I just want to wrap up our 4 bets for the weekend. Let's start with the underdog. Keith, your underdog.
I got the Jets money line at plus 112. I'm pretty disgusted by Ariel, how much he hyped you up. You're never going to let that one go, are you?
Nope, never.
What's your stupid underdog?
My underdog is the Oilers money line in Toronto on Saturday. Plus 112 as well in the Barstool Sportsbook. So could be a good upset for the Oilers. Prop bet. Hit me.
To Chuck tonight, over 1.5 points, plus 100. He's going to score easily.
Mine is Elias Lindholm over 2.5 shots on goal, also a plus 104 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's go into the storyline. I'll just say mine first. Sunday in the Prudential Center, Devils Canes, a Metropolitan Division rivalry matchup. I got the under at either 5.5 or 6. What's your storyline?
And then mine's a Saturday game as well. Bruins, Red Wings. We got Bertuzzi goal. Also, line's not up now. We're hoping it's in plus 275 to plus 300 range. And then the last one, the best bet of the night, we're going with Mikhail Backlund over 3.5 shots, plus 112. A lot of plus 112 odds tonight. It's a little weird number, but maybe it's our lucky number. But yeah, he's gonna hit it easily.
And my best bet is John Gibson over saves, assuming that he is starting. We still don't know to this point, but I think he should get the start. He did not start the last game, so he should be well rested. He's been playing great in his last 5 starts, and I think he's gonna get peppered tonight. So take the over on those saves. That's going to wrap up this show. We got another one coming on Tuesday. We're going to be posting every Tuesday and Friday, but follow our Twitter, follow our Instagram. It's at Dump and Chain Show. And any questions, any bets that you have, send us pictures. We'll retweet you. We'll repost you on our story, all that good stuff. But best of luck. Everyone have a great weekend, and let's win some motherfucking money.
Thanks, everyone.